Okay. Christoph, you
Yeah, I think we should start, actually.
Okay.
And whoever joins late, joins late. Shall we maybe just do a brief round of introductions, and then Ashley, you can outline the agenda for the meeting, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
So you all know Ashley and me, but why don't we start with Mark, and then Manuela, Hans, Michael, Annie, and Ian.
Christoph, thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Mark Irwin. For those that I have not met yet, most recently I was the group CEO at Serco PLC. I joined the company in Australia way back in 2013, leading the Asia Pacific business first, before moving to the UK, leading UK and Europe, and then ultimately leading the global business before I stepped down from that role last year. Serco was one of the founding members of UBBC. I had the privilege of working with Baroness Nicholson and Christoph on a number of matters in Iraq, and I absolutely saw the value of that. And so when the opportunity came to be a part of the UBBC, it was a very easy thought process, and we very willingly supported from the beginning, and will continue to do so going forward. I'm currently also advising where and when it is of benefit to UBBC, and then outside of that, I'm doing advisory work for a number of corporations in the UK as well as in the Middle East. Christoph?
You're on mute, Christoph.
Christoph, you're muted.
Sorry, I was saying, Manuela, you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone. So my name is Manuela Gatto. I'm director of Zahadid Architects. We are members of IBBC, and then we also became founding members of the UBBC. And from our side, I'm in charge of, I was in charge of every project we've done in Ukraine starting in 2017. And from 2022 or 23, I can't remember exactly, I'm also part of the strategic trade industry group set up by the DBT for Ukraine. And I think that's it from our end. Well, we are founding members, of course, of UBBC as well.
Thank you. Hans.
Yeah, so my name is Hans Nijkamp. I was a senior executive with Shell for quite a few years, and did things like running Iran, then Iraq, then Iran again. And then I was the gas and commercial director for Shell in Africa before I retired at the end of 2024. And then since then, I've set up my own small consultancy firm where I mainly do deal syndication, so bringing investors and opportunities together, and then negotiate the transactions, and also, if required, the whole suite of agreements that go with that. I do that with a team of people. I've been quite a long time involved with IBBC. You know, Shell was, I think, one of the founding members back in the day. And when I was in charge of Shell in Iraq, we were very active with IBBC. I was also on the executive committee, and now still on the advisory committee for IBBC. So when UBBC was formed, I felt I now that I also have a bit more time on my hand, I could lend my expertise and energy to help get that off the ground and successful as well. I mean, my expertise is quite broad in the energy sector. I mean, obviously oil and gas, but also LNG, renewables, and also energy systems in general, and the whole geopolitics around it as well. So, and that also meant I was quite interested to see what I could do to help Christoph and the team, to make UBBC successful as well. So that's probably where I am, Christoph.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you very much. Michael, you're on mute.
Yeah, apologies for I'm out of the office at the moment. So, Michael Tracy, I'm CEO of Acro Global. We're probably the largest manufacturer of modular steel bridges in the world, and we've had quite an involvement with Ukraine so far. We've probably provided 40 replacement bridges so far. We've had Ukrainian municipal engineers training in our facility, and we've worked with the Ministry of Defence, Department of Transport and Network Rail, the World Bank, and Howard Buffett, and we've had some people in the country as well. So we're very committed to seeing what we can do to assist. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Annie, you want to quickly introduce yourself as well? Annie's our intern. Annie, Annie, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you, Christoph. So I just joined UBBC as an intern, and I finished my studies at King's College London in international peace and security, and I'm interested in energy sector as well. So considering my background, like I'm from Georgia, so I was really interested in joining the UBBC, and I'm very happy to be part of this team. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Simon.
Hi, Christoph. I only just joined. I take it this is an introductory round. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Good. Sorry, I was a bit late. Yes, some of you know, I'm an insurance specialist, and I'm interested in the role that insurance can play in the rebuilding and recovery of the Ukraine economy. But before that happens, there is still a lot of insurance work that can be done in encouraging individual investments, particularly those that involve movement, in the sense that insurance of static properties is not easy. In fact, many will tell you that there are things going on, but there's not a great deal going on. But my interest lies initially in the immediate future in insuring people and ships and cargoes and transport to Ukraine, and ultimately to be much more involved in the reinsurance process to encourage investors into Ukraine when and if ever this conflict stops.
Thanks, Simon. And finally, Ian.
Thank you, Christoph. Afternoon, colleagues. Ian Gadd, professor at Bar University, representing education on the UBBC. We had a similar history in that we are also involved with IBBC, and so learned about the UBBC at the very start. We, as a university, though, have a very long-standing relationship with Ukrainian universities that goes back well over a decade and a half now. A lot of that was funded through European EU funding, working particularly in terms of aligning university standards in terms of teaching, accreditation, curriculum development with European/UK standards. And the last big project we had with Ukraine, which was during both COVID and the full-scale invasion, we had 10 university partners from Sumy in the northeast, all the way over to Chernivtsi in the southwest, Kyiv, Lviv, Zaporizhia, Mariupol, etc., etc. That project did complete successfully, remarkably, and that was focusing on improving the teaching of journalism and media at university level across Ukraine. So it underwrote the 20 new degrees across Ukraine, plus some double degrees with partners in Europe. as well as media literacy, which obviously became even more important in the latter stages of that project. So we retain strong connections across Ukraine's higher education sector. We have particularly good relationships with Sumy State University, with Kyiv School of Economics, and with a private university in Rivne called the International University of Economics and Humanities, and colleagues from that university have met with Christoph and Ashley on visits to the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And Josh, you joined a bit late. We're just doing introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Christoph. Sorry I'm late. And thanks for having me on the call. I'm at NM Capital, which is a private investment office, private family office, founded in 2017 by Chris and David St. George, who I don't know if you may have heard of the Olive Group, which was around 15 years, sold to Constellus in 2015. Yeah, and then Constellus was sold to Apollo in 2016, and they used the funds from that to set up this investment office. They've been running 3 majority-owned companies. Restrata, which is a software resilience platform, Azure security consulting, mainly based in the Middle East and Africa, and then HPO, which is a health tracker, which has contracts with the UK defence industry. They also have minority stakes across the security and defence, health, financial services sector. A kind of pivot in strategy towards more explicitly defence and dual use tech. So taking money out of, say, defence VC funds, smaller investments, and using that proprietary capital to invest in defence companies ourselves and grow an ecosystem. The main focus at the moment is more operating as a route to market for companies. So finding capabilities, especially coming out of Ukraine, operationally validated stuff that lacks the route to market. They're obviously selling stuff in Ukraine and have incredible capabilities that, say, a lot of people, a lot of energy companies in the Middle East would need right now, but they wouldn't have the route to market to that. So we're looking to facilitate those kind of relationships. Sorry, I spoke very fast, but give a brief, yeah, keep it short.
Oh, perfect, thank you. And some of us are familiar with St. George Brothers and Olive Group at the time.
Yeah.
Agne, do you want to say hello? I forgot you because your camera isn't on. Agne is our events manager.
Hello, everybody. You probably know me. I am Agne. I run behind the scenes of UBBC. I'm sending lots of emails and invitations to all of you. So if you have any questions or advices, please contact me.
Thanks. So the purpose of the meeting is really twofold. Is on the one side to inform you about our upcoming activities, including the visit to Kiev next month and the conference we're planning in the autumn. But then also to learn from you how we can help you and to involve both Hans and Mark to see how they in particular could potentially help you succeed with your businesses in Ukraine, and how we can all together grow the UBBC and make it more effective. Ashley, do you want to start by updating us briefly on the visit to Kiev? And
yes,
on the
just
conference?
Also quickly to say, Mark was going to say a few thoughts about what he sees in Ukraine and also what the opportunity is and what's motivating. So without, I'm going to go straight in this, but you might want to ask Mark one or two things as he's had a thought, and possibly Hans as well. Just to say that we are going on the 15th to the 18th, and Simon and Josh here in particular are coming on the trip, but we also have MSS and we have Andrew from Amar Foundation and myself. So there's 5 of us, and we are going to focus on the key things such as insurance, such as mil tech, defense tech, security tech, Josh, also reconstruction and the Ministry of the Economy in particular, and as much as we can around that. So there's and we have a number of MPs we're approaching that we've already met, try and aggregate them together as much as possible for a couple of breakfasts. And actually I'm quite bullish that we're going to meet quite a lot of people. We have Irina working with us out there, and Sergey, for those of you that knew him, also helping us as well. He works for the IFC. So it's looking good, and we'll come back and report back. Equally, Ian, I know you've requested us to meet the rector of the Konstantin from Kyiv University, so we'll also reach out to him. And we're going to have a reception on the 17th in the evening, so if there are people you'd like to invite to that, feel free to give us the names and we can bring them into that as well. There are also other organizations like the European Business Association who have a very large footprint of companies in Ukraine that we also want to meet, and the Economy of Trust, who we're linking with to pitch for specific projects as they come up. That's that. Please let me know if there's anything you want me to bear in mind or we'd like to explore while we're out there. It'll be quite a hectic visit, but very confident that it'll be a useful one. In terms of the conference, we have a key sponsor in Hogan Lovells. It's going to be in their rather central London office in Fleet Street, extremely good arena. And it's going to be a day long, and we're going to explore, with your input, hopefully, 4 themes: finance, investment, with a particular angle on privatization, which might be interesting, reconstruction and possibly energy, IP and UK tech, which could be another interesting panel, education and the future economy, and defense and security. So there are various themes there that I'm very open for your input on. It'd be quite good to look for discussions on things that aren't being obviously trodden by Strategy Council or other people that are putting on events. So I think we need to find our niches. And in some earlier talks we had with Hans and Mark, we were talking about the UK's competitive advantage, which is in areas like IP, intangibles, obviously design, etc. And a lot of our members are very much that way in terms of consulting work rather than heavy lifting Germanic metal. So I think we need to look at our opportunities and to maybe focus on what the UK plays at best and work around that. So that's the 23rd of September. Obviously, if you can invite anybody you feel would benefit from coming and any of your members, we probably can take about 150 people. And we're going to go for a couple of high profile speakers as well. I will approach Anne Applebaum. I'm also going to approach Mr. Tamashenko, who's the warden of Rubin College, Oxford, and is a Ukrainian nuclear scientist, amongst other things, and an AI specialist. So there'll be a few people we'll approach, open to suggestions from you all, and looking forward to that. That's it for me, Christoph, unless there's anything anyone would like to ask.
Actually, just quickly, these panel sessions, I mean, they're not fully decided yet. That's a suggestion. So if a member wanted to speak about something else or have another panel discussion, we can, I mean, this is just a draft, a first draft, so to say.
Just putting it out there at the first stage, and also want to hear what Hogan Lovells like to. They've done a lot of work with the Privet Bank, and also they've done the mineral deal with the US, I think, on behalf of the Ukrainian government. So that there's some interesting insights they've got to bring.
And they also consult with the National Bank of Ukraine, with the Central Bank of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So they're well connected.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I don't know if any of the members want to feed back into either the visit or the conference now. If not, we can do that at a later stage as well. Ian.
This is really useful. I've noted the date down. Do we have any? And apologies if you've already sent it and it's just lost in my inbox. Do we have a kind of a blurb or anything that we could share? Because I'd be keen to see who else we can get from the university sector who aren't necessarily UBBC members, but it would be good to have something that I can share with them so they know where it is, what it is, and what it might involve.
At the moment, it's more a save the date. And as time goes on soon, and hopefully after we've done a trade trip, we'll be focusing very much on the actual details and practicalities of it. Equally, want to talk to people like EBRD, IFC, and the City UK to make sure they're in the room too. But yes, Ian, very open to good ideas, and particularly UCL will be good with their Bridge Ukraine initiative as well.
Very good. just for actually, we also have a reception, don't we? Coming up. That date is agreed.
Yes. Yep, 16th of July in Committee Room G, as usual, and that is 5 to 7 o'clock. And we're inviting a few people, MPs, which may or may not respond to us. So that should be one of our jollies, and we're going to try and go for slightly different formatted attendees. So if you've got people you'd like to invite to that, please put them on the list. Obviously, we're looking to use this as a business development opportunity to invite other members and other people that might be interested in Ukraine, but also to share information and for you guys to network with people there.
Yeah, we'll send an email with all of these dates following this meeting. Mark, should we maybe move on to you and to your thoughts? So Mark went to Ukraine with us last October. Yeah, Mark, over to you.
Gustav, thank you. And I promise this will not be an attempt to preach to the converted. I thought perhaps just though share some of my observations, having been involved with the UBBC and working with Christoph and the very small but terrific team that makes all of this possible. I think those observations may be under sort of three headings, right? So for Ukraine, for Britain-based businesses, and more generally for investors. Josh, maybe yes, some of this you've touched on already in your introduction, but yeah, from a for Ukraine perspective, personally for me, I was standing on the floor of the London Stock Exchange on the 24th of February 2022. I was speaking about our UK and European business to investors when the news broke of Russia's full-scale invasion of the Ukraine. And here we are, remarkably 4 years plus later, and it's still going on. And I think it's a shame that we see in the fickle nature of media today, this being in and out of the headlines almost on a daily basis, but not being front of mind as much as perhaps it should be. And so I think the fundamental motivation for all of us here is what can we do to help? Right? What can we do to support the country beyond sentiment in practical ways? And sometimes practical ways are not big ways. As Christoph said, I had the privilege of being part of the delegation that was in Kiev at the end of last year. And I'm really disappointed that I can't go in June because of other commitments, but I certainly will at the very next opportunity I have to do so. I would only say that the bravery and resilience, the commitment around self-determination and sovereignty that we can all see from a distance is absolutely visceral when you're in the country. Just to see that, to have those conversations, to see it in people's eyes, to hear it in their voices, that everybody's really fighting for the future of an independent Ukraine. And so I think anything that we can continue to do individually and collectively to support that cause, we should continue to talk, to collaborate and to find ways to make sure that it's ongoing and that it's meaningful. I think for Britain-based businesses, and I'm not sure if it's been your experience, but as I've advocated for UBBC, I have from time to time encountered the question, but it's for British businesses. And I've had to redirect that conversation to actually it's the Ukraine-Britain Business Council. So if you're based in Britain, frankly, if you set foot in Heathrow, that's all okay. Come and join us because we would welcome all members here to align to that cause and to help. But please, as you're advocating, please, in your networks, remind people that it's the Ukraine-Britain Business Council and that we would welcome their membership and contribution as much as they are able to do so. I think from a UK perspective, there's real opportunity. I know that the conversations all too easily goes to drones and things that are in the headlines, but the amount of innovation and the breadth of that innovation, the pace of that innovation that's happening in the Ukraine is absolutely extraordinary. In biotech, even in principles of planning, we see active discussions and plans and execution, for example, around the concentration of asset base and critical national infrastructure, how that's being rebuilt in a distributed way for security, for resilience, all things that can be lost, I think, in the day-to-day headlines, but are critical learnings, I think, for countries in peace times to be better prepared for when times are more difficult. And so my point there is just that lens on innovation, that lens on technology acquisition and on partnership, on learnings for both business and civil reasons is massive. And when we have to encourage that interaction, that engagement as much as we can for the benefit of Britain-based businesses and for the UK at large. And then just finally on investors, it's again significant current and emerging opportunities. We were reminded often in the Ukraine, actually in our visit to Ukraine, and actually before that, Christopher will know some of the lunches and receptions we've had, that Ukraine will remember those who are visible during the conflict and not just those who will stand in the long line post-conflict at an opportunistic and more convenient time. And so being there now, being involved now is really important. And that early engagement is critical, I think. This is a great time. We know that nation rebuilding will redefine what will be state-owned, what will be private enterprise going forward. That's an area that I'm exploring actively at the moment and seeing potentially what that could lead to in terms of investment opportunities. And then, Josh, I think you touched on this a little bit, the development of export markets for either transferring out and building in other jurisdictions, Miltech, but also for dual tech technologies. Again, massive opportunities. There's a lot of sorting to be done between everybody claiming everything is good at the moment into what actually is sustainable economically, technologically, and industrially. But I think there's certainly a fertile basis to work through some of those opportunities. Two last points. One, technology, as I said, goes way beyond IT, and it's core to the re-industrialization that's happening in Ukraine. I think this intersection of AI, robotics, automation is happening in greenfield, in a greenfield context. In the rest of the world, we're going to have to convert, right? We're going to have to transform and evolve. It's happening greenfield there. And so the learnings, again, the opportunity to translate products and solutions, I think is massive. And I think, unfortunately, the pure tech side of this is still today somewhat dominated by big tech names or big tech personalities. And I think there's opportunity beyond that, again, for the many nascent ventures that exist already in Ukraine. And then just finally, recognition that there's still challenges and barriers for investors. It's hard still to have discussions about meaningful investment when the discussions around capital repatriation haven't been fully sorted. And that was acknowledged when we met with the central bank at the end of last year. They know then that they need to do it, but it's still to be done. Simon touched on insurance before. I think in investable assets, that's something that has to be dealt with. There's questions about the uncertainty of political outcomes when I speak to investors. What will happen in post-conflict in terms of elections and the presidency and so on. And then finally, I think there's still some challenge around coordination. It's not that there is not a lot of activity going on. There's just a lot of uncoordinated activity. There's UK government-funded schemes around innovation and investment. There's private sector activity going on. There's our activity here, the UBBC, and sometimes the coordination amongst those is a little bit difficult to work through. But I think those are challenges that are not insurmountable. And we have to keep those on our agenda and as part of our discussions to try and help the cause of Ukraine, and the opportunities that that brings for those who are on the outside. Thanks, Christoph.
Thank you, Mark. Would anyone like to comment and or ask questions and engage in a discussion with Mark on these issues?
And by the way, Christoph, if not here, my contact details are available either somewhere on the screen, or I can certainly share them with Agnes' help. So if anybody wants to follow up offline, I'm happy to do that on behalf of the UBBC.
Thanks,
Mark,
Mark.
I know you. Sorry, Christoph.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I know you mentioned the export aspect and the nation rebuilding aspect and the mill tech and the dual use stuff. In terms of, and I know Ashley mentioned this to me, that import of technology as well is obviously still an ongoing need, and particularly, say, the import of, I know one of our portfolio companies, Azure, does a lot with reconstruction, and obviously that's going to be a key issue as and when some form of peace is reached. Is that an element there's a lot of demand for, you see?
There is, Josh, and yes, so this is a personal view. I think in relation to some of the challenges I mentioned, I think export or re-domiciling capability is one of the risk mitigation pathways potentially, where today we know that pretty much everything that's done in country is done for country in support of the war effort. And so the capacity to think about export is just not there at the moment. But I think it'll be a cliff edge where they'll cut off one thing and immediately translate to the other. And so the early engagement, I think, helps with that. The other thing that surprised me during our visit at the end of last year was the very clear call out for human capital. And most of our discussions goes to financial capital, but there's actually a real call out for we need help. There's not maturity around. So in an export context, how do we deal with export controls? Right? How do we deal with the processes around internationalizing government? How do we deal with the setup of international partnerships? And some of that is just because they've all been, head down on doing what they're doing, not because they are not bright, super intelligent people. They just don't have the experience because they've had to grow up so quickly over the last 4 years. And they don't have the capacity because they're so busy with the war effort. And so I think all of that avails us with opportunity to say, actually, we can help with that. But in the interest, this is the foundation of a strong investment thesis.
Thanks. Simon.
Yes, can I ask, have we given any thought to the Ukraine Recovery Forum this year? I think that might help Josh in some of his questions, but there is a huge fair of opportunity for investment into Ukraine as well as out. And I just was quite interested to know whether we've given any thought to making sure that we are there, we have any representation there.
So we discussed it early on. I believe only Manuela has been invited to go as an individual company, Sardid Architects. We tried to get in and we haven't been invited. That was already the case last year. DIT is not putting us on their lists forward. I went to the 2 forums, the one in London, I think it was 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and the one in Berlin, and they're indeed excellent. They're very, very good, particularly to meet Ukrainian ministers and high officials and the entire international community that supports Ukraine. So if you can go, if you can get an invitation, I think you have to go through DBT to get an invitation. They probably have very limited numbers, which they...
Well, I went to the Berlin one, but I have been rejected ever since. But surely we have the gravitas to force some kind of representation, surely.
Well, we did try the Ukrainian embassy here, the Polish embassy, because they were doing it, the British embassy, and all of them said there's a limited tickets and we'll see what we can do, and no one's come back with anything. So it's been rather hard gruel.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, I might have a go. I'll let
Yeah.
you know what success I have. But thank you.
I mean, that's not over yet, but it's not easy, because
No.
it seems that Ukrainians are filtering who goes, but also I think the Polish are as well. So, and I don't think the Brits are necessarily getting what they want either. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians are very result driven. So I remember when I got invited to the Berlin one, it was through the Office of the President of Parliament of Ukraine. But the expectation was that we would actually lead large British business delegations to Kiev. And that has obviously never happened. So I think they've just written us off in that sense. We have taken small delegations to Kiev, but even now opening up the visit to non-members hasn't produced a huge amount of people who want to come. There just isn't that interest, there isn't that appetite. That's one of the constant problems we're facing. Most people are not able to visit, I think, until the conflict is finished. And that's what happened to Mark when he was still CEO of Circle. He was not allowed to go. Manuela, are you now able to visit Ukraine? Because you were intending to go, but you haven't been, I believe.
No, I haven't been. It's more, I think, but two things is, to be honest, the length of the trip is putting me off a little bit. It's just it means committing to quite a lengthy trip. And then also, well, two things. I mean, we're not the kind of firm that waits for the conflict to be over. We did a lot of work already pro bono and not for Ukraine. And that gave us a lot of opportunities to meet officials already. So last year at the URC in Rome, I met Minister Kuleba. We had one-to-one, quite long meeting and everything. I just feel, I mean, I from our end, let's say the two points. One is that we are not, the kind of services we will provide are not linked to the real urgencies now, which are mostly, let's say, urgency number one is energy, of course. And besides energy, basic infrastructure. So, we were talking about mobile bridges and, roads. So it's a lot of, let's say, it's a lot of making a lot of effort put into making the network viable now, and not so much about the longer plan upgrade, obviously, and naturally so, and investment on energy. So I don't see at the moment any. Also knowing a little bit where the funding is going, also from the British side, and us not having any possibility, sadly, to access any European funding. I don't really see how we can get involved immediately. So we keep in touch. There's a lot of delegations coming to London. There's the URC and so on. So from my end, I think the real interest in going there now would be for someone who doesn't have any contact already with the Ukrainian and as in interest in the longer term to get involved, and then so for the companies that are really dealing with the urgencies, which is mostly and above all defense and energy. So that's the reason. It's not like for me, it's not for lack of interest. It's just kind of like managing my time and my team's time versus the opportunities we would have, because I am aware that for the moment we can't get involved immediately. I think.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But talking about energy, Hans, what are your thoughts on energy? How could we get more involved, or the UK get more involved in that sector, because it is crucial to Ukraine?
Yeah, I think a lot of the initial energy investment will actually be in rehabilitating the existing system. There's a lot of infrastructure damage that needs repair, and then the thing that's probably happening is the energy transition is accelerating again, much as a result of what's going on in the Middle East, and there'll be probably a lot of opportunities there in the Ukraine as well. But I think the initial efforts, and that's ongoing as we speak, obviously, because things get repaired all the time. but the initial effort will be very much at restoring and remodernizing all the existing infrastructure that's there.
And do you see any potential in the British business community to participate in that effort? I mean, a lot of solar is being built, for example, in Ukraine now, decentralized power generation. So that,
yeah, I think a lot comes down to what Mark mentioned as well, that a lot of the IP and expertise can be exported from the UK to the Ukraine, but the execution part would very much happen on the ground there. With the people there, so you get it's that sort of partnership. So joint venture opportunities more so than big companies moving in a big way, in my view. I mean, some of the current oil and gas players, they're looking at Ukraine, of course, and have been in the past. But I don't think anyone's rushing to get back in right this minute.
yeah. Good. So really the question is, how can we be more effective as a group, and how can we be more helpful to our members going forward, apart from those events that we are planning? Just to say, we're also planning to take another visit to Kiev in the autumn. We haven't yet determined the week. And if we have enough members and non-members who are interested in going, we will do that. And we will consider going to other places as well, Simon, because I know you were keen to go to Odessa, which I would also very much like to do.
I am. In fact, I am actually going to go to Odessa at the end of our trip to Kiev. I shall be going there for 3 days, the weekend after you leave. I also have 1 or 2 other Lloyd's insurers, Lloyd's underwriters, syndicate underwriters, who are quite interested in coming on this trip. And my question to Ashley was, if they decide to come at the last minute, can we accommodate them?
The answer is yes, but we've got to make sure we can get some couchettes, because we've just dispersed of 2. The answer is, we might have to if you can guarantee you'll cover the couchettes, I think that's possible. And also the hotel is quite full, so I think sooner rather than later would be more likely. Yeah.
Sure, I get it. And actually, on Ian's question earlier on, did Ashley give you an answer about the information I think you asked for about the trip? Did you not? You haven't actually seen a profile for the other people that you were thinking about bringing, or was that a question that you did get answered?
That was related to the conference rather than the trip.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, on the trip, as both Christoph and Ashley know, university sector is incredibly risk averse when it comes to sending people into Ukraine. And so we've got colleagues who are quite happy to go, but the VC has said no, and it would be difficult for us to override that by saying, okay, we're going in a personal capacity, given the nature of the relationships we have. So it is a very frustrating aspect of our position at the moment.
Well, we've had a crack at the FCDO several times, haven't we, Christoph, about their diktat that covers the entire country, which of course is somewhat unfair when we think about the fact that certainly to the western side of the country it is actually pretty safe. And I have the same problem with the Lloyd's market. None of their employers are really that interested in letting them go, because if anything were to happen, they would have been in contravention of the FCDO instruction.
Well, so maybe that's something we can try to tackle. Because
actually, yes, it is. And Mark's point completely about the fact that the Ukrainians will remember those who've come now rather than when and if this conflict stops, which will suit those. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, very valid point. Sorry, Christoph, I slightly interrupted.
No, just following your thought. I mean, the manpower shortage in Ukraine is such that we should actually encourage people to go and work in Ukraine, not just visit. As we all know, you can perfectly and safely live in Ukraine in most larger cities. So it's not unreasonable at all to actually work there on a permanent basis. And that should be encouraged, I think. if we really want to support the country. I'm not going to send troops. It's not happening. But there's no reason why we shouldn't send manpower to Ukraine to support the war effort in a different way.
Absolutely.
There were two events last week, one Perez Bank and one the energy transition, which I went to. And what came clear was that they said, look, you've just got to be there, have a presence in some way, get to know the people now. And if you want to have a very simple office or something that's just a sort of token, the fact you're there, that's really worth it. Spend 25 grand setting up an office, and that will be a great long-term return. So I wondered, Christoph, whether we should, in terms of a cooperative office for 3 or 4 members that can't afford a whole office, they might want to do a part-time office, just so we've got core presence over there. Just putting it out there.
I mean, if members are interested, very happy to make that happen, but it would have to be financed by the members, for the members, so to say. So if anyone is interested, do let us know. Good. Do we have any other business from anyone?
Is Michael on the line still?
No, I think we lost him, unfortunately. I would have liked to hear from him because he does do a lot of work in Ukraine with his bridges and just that kind of emergency work we were talking about.
Ashley, just on the visits, you said that you had been thinking about a possible involvement of Kyiv School of Economics and Konstantin, obviously, who you've both met.
Yeah.
Have you been in touch? I'm speaking to Konstantin next week, but I'm conscious that the timing is such that
I've actually let Irina do that because she's going to try and run a schedule. So I said the least we can do, simply because we've probably got a lot of ground to cover, is to invite him to our reception so we can talk there or before then. We don't know what the layout of the timing is going to be, and we have some priorities that we need to focus on first. We've got a slightly shorter time scale, and so given that we need to reach quite a different range of people, we've got to be flexible. So that would be something, if we've got a gap, we say, look, we've got a couple of hours here, can we come and see you? But we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Just to add that a little bit of context for those who are going. So Konstantin Kirichenko, who we've known at BASPA for the entire time we've been working with Ukraine, he's an honorary, he received an honorary degree from BASPA a couple of years ago. He was head of international at Sumy State up until 18 months ago, and has moved to Kyiv School of Economics, not as quite as established as our own LSE, but clearly very much connected in the policy sector, good connections into the ministries, and he is very, very well connected as an individual. So if and particularly on the ground, so if it may well be not just about meeting him, but also if there are particular sectors or industries or ministries that you might want a way into. He's been very useful with us when we've had those kind of queries for funding bids. So well worth sending him a WhatsApp if you have particular questions.
Just thank you. That's very useful thought. And just noting that the Kyiv School of Economics are really the key economic drivers in Ukraine at the moment. They are on all the presentations. The banks all listen to what they have to say. They've delivered strategy. So I think they're very important in terms of strategic input to Ukraine generally. So he's maybe just gone up the list a bit now. Thank you. Okay.
Can I add just a little footnote here? About insurance for ourselves. I don't know whether anybody's particularly concerned about that, but it's something that we're working on. We did it on the last visit. It's not a really big deal. It's not going to be very expensive, and as the introductory information tells you, it is included in the price. I think it might be a little bit more expensive this year than last because of what's been happening in the last week or so. But rest assured that somebody's working hard to make sure that if, God forbid, anything were to happen, your cell will be insured.
Thank you, Simon.
To an extent.
And I appreciate you do it. You're not going to make any money out of this. I appreciate the fact you're doing this very much as sort of cost and pro bono almost level. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Good.
Right. Well, I think we've almost reached the end of the hour, and if there are no more points to be raised, then thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your ongoing support, and Ashley and Simon will report back from Kiev, and maybe Manuela can tell us a bit about Gdansk when she returns.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hope you can, these things get sorted out the last minute, so I hope you can, you'll be able to join us there.
I'll try again.
All right.
Okay.
Super.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks
Nice
so
to see you.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.